Welcome to the astrology for the week of August 27th through September 2nd of 2023. So there is a lot going on astrologically this week, but before I delve into this, I want to invite you to subscribe to my channel so that my channel grows in terms of how many people follow this channel. I do astrology videos and spirituality videos. Every single week I take a look at the astrological energies that surround the week. And then I also do a general astrology video, which does not have anything to do with forecasts or anything like that. So this week I am doing a video on the sun through all 12 houses in astrology. That video should be out on my channel on Wednesday, so keep your eyes open for that, where I take you through the sun in terms of the planet and how it sort of shows up and presents itself and expresses itself in all 12 houses of astrology. So tune in for that. I do that video every week. I also do a blog post on Mondays over various topics that I feel inspired to share. And you can find that on my website, in the links on my YouTube channel, Knowledge, Wisdom, and Me. Click on that link, head to my blog once you get to my website through that link on my YouTube channel, and you'll find my blog. And then on Fridays I do a TikTok video, which I publish to my channel also. So, without further ado, let us proceed into this week. We are fully into the Mercury retrograde now. We are, in it. And so this week starts off on August 27th with an opposition of the Sun and Saturn. This is very, very important. And I'm also going to talk about when we get further down the year to Venus opposing Saturn. Venus is going to enter Virgo in October, and at one point it's going to oppose Saturn. So that aspect is going to be very, very huge when we get there. And that deals with challenges in terms of relationship. Maybe you need to get your values clear and get your priorities straight with what you love and what matters most to you in terms of your relationships and your sense of pleasure. So it can be very good for creating structures in creating relationships that are for the long term. But anyway, and that's sort of what we're reevaluating, because Venus is retrograde in Leo from July 22nd to September 3rd. It goes retrograde on Sunday of next week, on the very first day of next week. And that Venus stationing direct next week is going to bring to light and bring more clarity to all the things that we have evaluated and reevaluated during this whole Venus retrograde season, in terms of love, in terms of what we find beautiful, money, pleasure, romance, and looking at relationships and are they sustainable for the long term. So, I have a whole video on, Venus retrograde in Leo that I did. Maybe I'll link it, below or somewhere up in this video for you to see. As I go very in depth in that video discussing the transit and the aspects that Venus makes to other planets in other signs during that whole transit. And I really discuss the themes of Venus and Leo. So anyway, the Sun opposite Saturn transit on August 27th. Any opposition has two planets going in an opposite direction. So the sun in Virgo wants to create order and structure and form to things. It wants to put its feet on the ground. It really craves those practical results. So, the sun, Virgo is very much about in the material realm, the mundane realm. It's all about the details. It's very technical. It's ruled by Mercury, so it's very logical and analytical. And then we have Saturn in Pisces. Saturn entered Pisces on March 7th of this year, the same day as, it's so interesting, that on the day that Saturn entered Pisces, there was a full moon in Virgo. So the bare bones of Saturn in Pisces is creating structure to a formless mass and sea of ideas and fantasies to sort of crystallize and materialize our dreams and visions and manifest them into reality, to have a daily devotion or a spiritual practice that you're practicing, to have a spiritual discipline. It indicates the legitimization of things like astrology, spirituality, all of those things, or maybe science and spirituality can be blended together. And it also invites us to love ourselves and respect ourselves in the sense that we're drawing healthy boundaries, from us to others, that we're not getting, absorbed and swept down and pulled down by others' energies, because Pisces is a highly sensitive, psychically sensitive sign. It's an intuitive sign that sort of feels around the room and can pick up on energies. And it's just a sponge that absorbs people's energies and, vibrations and, what they're feeling, what they're going through throughout their days. And because of that sensitivity that Pisces has, it can lend itself to a beautiful sense of compassion, that Pisces has for another person, and the need to nurture and care for someone else and connect with them on a soul-to-soul, level. So anyway, with an opposition, we have two planets sort of going in opposite directions, but of course it takes two people to be in a marriage. And so in order to have this combination, we need to blend the two together. We need to pair the two together. And so when we're going in opposite directions, we're polarized, we're split, we're conflicted. Where the Sun and Saturn are not getting along. They are repelling each other. But we want to bring the two together. We want them to be moving in the same direction. And we want to take the best from the Sun, and we want to pair that with the best of Saturn's qualities and characteristics. So, what are the Sun and Saturn about, first of all? Well, in astrology, the Sun rules over your ego. It is, your ego. It is the I. It is that part of you that makes decisions out in the world and, wants to look a certain way, wants to have the promotion, wants to have the job, the wife, the partner, the dream life, all those kind of things, where the ego is a vessel, a vehicle for the soul. It's like you're the passenger and the car is your ego. Truth be told, the ego should serve the soul, not the other way around. Let's get that straight first and foremost. But the ego is what kinds of things you want externally that will fulfill your soul. It is you being in the world and living in the world. And also the ego is also what makes you unique and special and different from everybody else. So the sun deals with, how you shine, how you show up in the world, how you want to spread your light and warmth to others. It deals with the core center being of who you are at your core. All the other planets revolve around the sun. It all goes back to you, your identity. That's the sun. The sun is also who we're meant to be in this life, who we're meant to become, and we sort of mature and grow into our sun's qualities and our sun's sign in whatever house that it is in throughout life, and we become whatever our sun's sign is as we grow older. We step into the characteristics and traits of that sign, and we embody it in our own unique way. You can paint a painting of grass and trees and flowers, but everybody's going to approach that differently. Everyone's going to paint the same painting from a different lens. Maybe adding a touch of this color, or adding a little bit of this texture over here, adding in some, some blue flowers, or, I don't know. So, we all have, your sun sign, and of course you cannot limit, astrology by your sun sign, because it certainly isn't the be-all, end-all. That everybody, as I said before, you can, everybody painting their portrait of, grass and trees and flowers or whatever in their own unique way that also describes, again, the house placement, the aspects that the sun makes to other planets, and everything else in your natal chart. So, you grow into your sun in this life. It deals with leadership, so how you lead, how you take control of your life. The sun's very strong. It deals with, being empowered. It indicates your purpose and who you're meant to become and evolve into, and also your vitality, your inner sense of power and strength, that you shine. It deals with you being self-sufficient, you being strong within yourself. So then we have Saturn, which is, concerned with, limitations, restrictions, feeling restricted or limited, maybe by, authority figures or something other than that. It deals with boundaries. Saturn, is sort of the archer, or, person or, authority figure that puts in place those boundaries. Like time is a boundary. Time is precious. Use it wisely. And there is only time in how you use it. And there are limits to time. There are 7 days a week, 24 hours in a day. The sun is only up for a certain amount of time. And so on. So Saturn reinforces and, advises us of our limitations of time, and it invites us to be productive and make the most of that time. It deals with, themes of maturity as well, and self-control, not, indulging in certain things or getting addicted, healthy, restraint, discipline that could, have us reach our goals or, whatever. So your Saturn sign in your natal chart is basically, we're going to take this sign and we're going to mature it. We're going to take it to the highest level. We're going to master the traits of this sign. And these are the challenges that you were meant to face in this lifetime. It's not going to come easy, but this is your mission. This is what gives meaning. This is what you have to strive for. This is what you have to work for, that makes life worth living. Because if it was, all easy and comfortable, and if we were handed everything on a platter, then, where would the meaning really be? Where would the growth be? So that's Saturn, the hard work that you put in. So karma, and through that hard work, you reap what you sow. Um, what you get back is what you give with Saturn. Um, and so, yeah, it asks, is it worth doing this, or should I be doing something better and more productive? Should I be more focused and disciplined? So when we have the Sun opposing Saturn, we are sort of put into this landscape where we're feeling, things like limitations, restrictions, those kind of things could be happening. Where you're feeling limited or restricted to express yourself, to shine, to be your authentic self, which is your sun sign. And maybe there's certain people that you're noticing in your world, like family, authority figures, whatever. And there may be a lot of people that may be having challenges with getting along with authority figures at this time, because it's sort of a butting heads, there's sort of a conflict where you want to do your own thing and you want to go in your own path and you want to express yourself and you want to, this is what you're interested in, this is what you want to pursue your talents, this is what you want to do, to spend your time with, this is what you're, invested in at this time, and that rubs up against some other person in power who has more power and force than you. So it could be that conflict, but again, with the opposition, we want to merge the two together, and we want to see how we can get along and compromise and, pair the best of both worlds and, make peace and work with each other. Foreshadowing to Mars and Libra, which I'm going to get to later. It may be more difficult with this opposition around this particular time to get work done, to find the motivation, to find the courage and drive to get work done. Where, Saturn, there really is no favorable or better, placement, for Saturn. For starters, there is no, I believe that there is no, better placement in astrology than any other. It's all all the placements in astrology are, good, and all the aspects, are good in their own way and bad in their own way, and they all have strengths and advantages and disadvantages and challenges too. So it's all how you look at it. And so with Saturn, you have to push yourself. It isn't, you just feel like it, sort of have to push yourself to get the hard work done, and to, just put your nose to the grindstone and commit to it and focus and, cross it off your bucket list. So that may be something that you're grappling with and around this particular time. And are you pushing yourself enough? Are you working hard enough? Or are you being lazy? Are you slacking off? Are you not putting in the time? Are you not investing your energy? Are you not committed to whatever you need to achieve and want to achieve? I'm taking a couple classes right now, and the question is, how invested am I in those classes? And the other thing that I want to speak to, there is an ongoing grand trine in Earth happening. So much Earth energy, and of course that deals with um, practicality, results, getting grounded, getting things done, um, where you can really apply yourself and do the work that you need to. Because think of Earth, it's, there's a form to it, there's a reality to it. It isn't just an idea, it isn't just an abstraction or something in the air, it isn't just a pipe dream. We want concrete results, a physical manifestation. What is this going to equal in the material world? That kind of thing. So, are you, overdoing it, over pushing yourself, or are you not, working hard enough, and maybe you need to do things to motivate yourself, like maybe, walking, getting more exercise to get your spirits up and wake you up and revive you and energize you and get you motivated. Maybe it is you are struggling to commit to an exercise routine. Maybe it's a meditation practice or whatever it is. And I can certainly look at myself in the mirror with this. Where you're not disciplined and committed enough to this, and where you may need to be, because you know that you'll feel good after doing it. You know that it's good for you, that it brings you joy, peace, meaning. It's worthwhile. It brings value to you. You do it in a way where you care about yourself. You do it as a sign that you love yourself and you're doing what is healthy and best for yourself in according to your needs, wants, and values. So those, that's something to think about. And of course, Saturn's retrograde. So this is one of the aspects that Saturn retrograde is making. So reviewing matters when it comes to Saturn. And the retrograde started June 17th. It's going to end in November. But, so yeah, where are we not following through? Where you start something and then not commit to it, not finish it. And so, I do want to highlight this clash between your duty and responsibility and the day-to-day things in life that you need to do for yourself, your goals, your work, your, whatever it is, especially if you're an employee in a work situation or a boss or whatever. So your duty and responsibility is going to come into an opposition with your aspirations, what you want to do, what you want to spend your time with. And that could be a part of you, you fighting with yourself. One part of you knows, oh, these are the things that I need to do. And these are the responsibilities that I have to accomplish. And this is what I have to get done. This is the priority. Versus, oh, well, I don't want to do this. I don't want to express myself in this way. And I don't want to do this, and I feel strongly and passionate about this at this time. I feel inspired to do this at this time, and I don't want to deal with these tough, cold, difficult, matters of life. So that could be a conflict. Other things with this is Saturn. There's also a coldness with Saturn energy. So it isn't the warmest, most loving, affectionate, compassionate, nurturing planet, because Saturn rules Capricorn. The moon rules Cancer. And so Capricorn can be cut off. And, in relationships, it can be, well, I'm providing and I'm building the structure and I'm thinking, long term, I'm, the breadwinner out making money, I'm cooking the meals, I'm cleaning, I'm doing whatever. But what about the bonding? What about the emotional connection? What about the, the nurturing, the soft love as opposed to the tough love? What about, relating with another? What about just, having fun and enjoying the relationships with the people in your life as opposed to the purpose and work that you have to get done. Um, so, that's something that all Earth south nodes, for anyone who has their south node of the moon in an Earth sign. So your south node is what you came in with, what sort of tendencies that you're leaving behind that no longer serve you. And you're moving towards your north node, exactly opposite your south node, what you want to develop, the healthy traits of that north node that you want to integrate in this life. So, that's sort of a lesson of not being so sucked down into the practical realms of life that all south node and north signs have to learn and balance out. But anyway, there could be a lack of generosity. Maybe you're not feeling as generous or close or loving or caring and emotionally open to another in terms of giving and receiving, both and just kind of sad as well, just sort of humdrum, just kind of kerplunk, just sort of stuck in the responsibilities that you have to get done and sort of the grind of all the work that you have to do. So that kind of feeling, it's the kind of feeling like you wake up on Monday morning and you don't want to go to work, but you know that you have to, kind of thing. So and so other themes with this particular opposition is putting a pressure on yourself to achieve this goal or do things in a certain way. Where are you putting so much pressure on yourself? Where do you feel like you're not good enough? And pushing yourself and overworking yourself to achieve this goal, or whatever. So that theme could come up. So self-sabotage, any self-sabotaging behavior, maybe it's an addictive tendency or something that could come up, and some sort of behavior that is not sustainable for the long term, that has to be dismantled and stopped. Something that you're doing isn't working for you, isn't serving you, yet you continuously go back and feed that pattern that isn't working for you in your life. So any self-defeating, self-sabotaging behavior of any kind of limitation that you place upon yourself, that you can't do this, you are not worthy of having this, or whatever it is, that kind of thing too. It could be a battle, because Saturn's retrograde. It could be a battle within yourself, or it could be you butting heads with somebody externally, however it shows up for you. So yeah, that is all that I want to say about that. I think I covered quite a bit for that aspect. I do want to move on now. I squeezed enough out of that. But so Mars and Libra is the next thing that I want to talk about. So this particular transit is occurring from August 27th through October 12th of this year. So Mars and Libra. What was really interesting is that, fun fact, in 2014, as soon as the North Node entered Libra, which is our future destiny, where we're meant to head, Mars went retrograde in Libra. So that could be, we're reviewing how we, maintain peace and harmony, how we relate, the compromises that we make to others, how we approach a conflict in a diplomatic way, or, whatever it is that went on. And so now, fast forward 9 years later, and last month in July, the South Node entered Libra, and now Mars is entering Libra a little over a month later, because the South Node entered Libra in July of this year, on July 17th. So Mars is entering Libra, and there's going to come a time when Mars is going to conjunct the South Node of the Moon in Libra. We might get to that later on when it happens, at the very end of the Mars in Libra transit. But so, what is Mars in Libra about? Well, Mars is the red planet. It is a masculine energy. It is about action, how you take action, how you start something, how you initiate. It's the gas in your fuel tank, how you, get out of bed in the morning and in the morning and act, not just sitting around, but acting, actually going out and, achieving what you want to. So it is your passion, what lights you up, what gets you fired up, what sort of propels you into action. It's also assertion, how you assert yourself into the world with your desires, needs, and wants. It also deals with your will power, and your your desires. It's a very primal energy, what you desire. And Mars also corresponds to sexual sort of areas. But so yeah. So, and then Mars is also the planet of war. So there is conflict with Mars energy. Venus seeks to merge and harmonize and attract, and it wants beauty and love and connection. Uh, but then Mars is about war. It is the planet of war. And there's something to Venus that it was, a war planet as well. But anyway, I'm sure you can read up about that. But Mars is the planet of war. It is about how you act, how you fight the opponent, and the strength and the power and the passion and the stamina and the sort of chi that you have to fight. It deals with the fight. It deals with elbowing people. In the streets. It deals with going out and doing things. Lifting weights. It deals with somebody who's very Martian. Could be someone who's very muscular, um, very strong-willed. Someone who goes out and has a mission and achieves whatever he or she wants. And so Mars deals with war, and it's about what kind of fire are you lighting under your self or not to get what you want. And you're fighting in a head-on way, not a vague way, but a direct way. Mars rules Aries. Aries has a target, it knows what it wants, it approaches it in direct fashion. But now Mars is in Libra's ruling sign, the sign that Libra rules. This is a dichotomy that we're talking about here. Now, I am not somebody who talks about astrology and has the belief that planets are detriment. It is an astrological fact that Mars is considered to be detriment in Libra because it can't express its characteristics and qualities in Libra as it does other signs, but it does it in a different way. We can look at it from not better or worse, or not some placements being higher on the pecking order than others, but they express the characteristics of the sign in different ways, depending upon which sign that they're in. It's just different. It's not worse or better. It's just different. A different embodiment of that with that planet entails. So, with Mars and Libra, we're talking about the planet of war and the planet of conflict. There's a really strong need with Mars and Libra. Now, the focus is, how are we going to approach conflict in a peaceful way, conflict in a diplomatic way? A sort of, cookbook example, which I've heard mentioned by several astrologers, is, well, let's say you're in a restaurant and somebody gives you food and it's the wrong order. Are you going to be, belligerent or whatever and, angry at the waitress, or are you just going to assertively say, this is not what I ordered. I actually ordered this, and then, have them send it back. So yes, you can fight for what you want and assert what you want to have happen in your life and whatever goal that you want to, but in a way that is diplomatic and peaceful and considering the other person. And that's the balance that we're working with the South Node in Libra and the North Node in Aries. And so we're purging people placing codependent qualities of Libra, and we're stepping towards courage and asserting ourselves and working on our expressing our individuality with the Aries energy. But we're bringing in the Libra side, which is very high in Venus energy, which approaches conflict in a nice, considerate, peaceful way. And so this is the invitation for Mars and Libra. The other thing about Mars and Libra is it's a great time to expand your awareness of an issue. Because Libra doesn't see one side, it sees all sides of the spectrum, both sides of the coin. And so can we see all sides? Can we open up to all different perspectives and consider all different perspectives? And someone with a South Node in Aries, North Node in Libra, this is one of the lessons where the South Node in Aries just acts on impulse because that's what they did in order to survive in previous lifetimes. But in this lifetime, they're considering other people. They are learning how to relate to others. They are learning to see the different perspectives and understand the gray areas of the world that we live in. So we can see the different sides, but then the downside of air is, well, we have all this information and we're absorbing and taking in all this information, but what are we actually doing with it? One of the traps that Mars and Libra can fall into is the indecisiveness aspect of it, where we can be a cheaty from the good place. We can have difficulty making decisions. We can see all different sides. We're considering what we want. We consider what the other person wants. Oh, well, whatever you want, and, I'll let you decide, because I can't, initiate and be self-sufficient and make up my own mind, so I'm just going to be codependent, rely on you to decide for me. So, I'm speaking again to the South Node being in Libra at this time. So, this deals with stagnation, not taking action. Just pick a place to park. Just decide on which item to buy at the store. Just make a decision on what you want to order and release the attachment for it to be the perfect choice. Just, make a choice. Yes, consider all the options, but ultimately take action. So it's difficult. One of the challenges with the placement transit in general is a difficulty with finding the courage and conviction and decisiveness to just make a choice, to have an intention, set it, and decide. So that's one of the things to be aware of. And also just passive aggressive tendencies where we're not choosing to be courageous and assertive and authentic to ourselves and our beliefs and our truth and what we feel, and we let others decide for us who we are. We let what people say be a reflection of us and define us. And then we lie to ourselves, we devalue ourselves, we give them more power, we let them win, and we become passive aggressive. Whenever we say, oh, I'm the one in the wrong, I'm right, you're wrong, or, just, just assert yourself and stand in your own truth. Close your eyes, breathe, take a breath, and speak your truth and let go of other people's judgments or what other people are going to think of you in terms of the projections of what they have to say, and their opinions, and them not being happy with what you have to say, or that you hurt the other, or whatever the case may be. So yeah, choosing to really tap into the opposite sign of Aries and choosing to be assertive and not passive aggressive is important. Um, so um, And so, yeah, Mars and Libra, a real need to not rock the boat, a real need for peace and harmony. There is a strong need and a strong desire to form a healthy, peaceful relationship with somebody. So, looking at our relationships, putting more energy and drive into this area of our lives during this time is really going to come to be favorable for us, because wherever Mars goes, it gives us the energy, it gives us the enthusiasm and the motivation. So the focus becomes on relationships, on balancing yourself with the other, on the give and the take. How is your relationship going for you? And I don't want to go into the myriad of ways that could be for you. Um, yeah, and this placement is also great for any kind of teamwork or any, doing things collaboratively with other people, listening to people, considering their ideas and opinions, working with others to achieve a common goal. This transit can be really favorable for that. It's great for making compromises, peaceful compromises, and negotiating as well. And with Mars and Libra, there's a real need to create fairness and equality. The scales want to be balanced. If they had a consciousness, the scales would want to be balanced. And so there's a strong need with Libra energy for fairness, for everyone to get along, everyone to have a place. And Libra wants to make sure that things are fair for, everyone. That's really, really important that harmony is in place. And then sort of another pitfall is just becoming kind of conflict avoidant, or brushing certain issues under the rug, um, not knowing how to approach conflict in an assertive way, assertive and loving way. And so that's one of the things one of the things I read about Mars and Libra is that in relationships, Libra is sort of divided where they want to be alone, but yet they want to be in partnership. They're sort of unclear about that. They're sort of, they dance back and forth, and it can be difficult for someone in relationship to understand, what, they need. I have the, moon in Libra. So I do want that closeness, but not, entanglement, too close. And because my moon's in Libra, it's really important that having, conversations, which are real and emotional, are very important to me, and they're nurturing to me. Um, that I can, share my feelings, because Libra is an air sign. So anyway, not becoming aloof, or conflict avoidant. So that's just a little note on that transit. So that's what we're going to be sort of working with Mars in Libra. When Mars enters Scorpio, it's going to be kind of ramrod. It's going to be a different ball game. And that is about, um, not getting caught in bulldozing other people. So anyway, not going to extremes with Mars and Scorpio. We'll get to that when we navigate into October time. So the other thing that is going on this week that I want to talk about is Uranus going retrograde in Taurus. Now Uranus is going to station retrograde. Yet another planet that's joining several planets retrograde. We have Uranus is going to go retrograde, Mercury retrograde, Venus retrograde, Jupiter is going to go retrograde in September, Saturn's retrograde, Neptune and Pluto are retrograde, and the nodes are retrograde automatically. They're always retrograde by default. That's just how they, that's the thing that they do, is that the nodes move backwards instead of forwards. So the nodes of the moon do not operate in the same way as the planets. They're more reflective, they're more internal. So anyway, when planets station to go retrograde, they actually bring their energies to a forefront. And so whatever planet that goes retrograde, comes to slow down, and we can tap into the energies of that planet much more than when they're just regularly doing their thing and moving direct in the sky, where we can tap into the energies of Uranus much more, and the influence and themes and qualities of Uranus are much more available to us, and they're much more prominent to us personally and collectively. There could be things that could play out on the world stage that are reflective of, Uranus stationing to either go direct or retrograde. Now, Uranus is going to go backwards, or retrograde. Backwards is just an illusion. From August 28th through January 27th of 2024. And so Uranus is going to start its retrograde at 23 degrees of Taurus, and then it's going to move all the way back it's going to back up to 19 degrees of Taurus. And this is going to be, as I said, in January next year. So with Uranus retrograde, we are reflecting on, our sense of originality, our sense of being original regardless of societal expectations, regardless of what authority figures want us to be, regardless of conditioning. It deals with our sense of rebelling for a cause. It deals with the realizations that we get, our advancement, the things that we do for our evolution that move us maybe an inch or maybe a foot closer to who we truly are. Because that is Uranus energy. It doesn't care about the ego. It doesn't care about that. It deals with the principle of you being who you truly are, is for the benefit of the good of all. That's Uranus energy. And so we are all one in humanity, but we are all individuals. And so that becomes important to put both pieces together. So, when Uranus goes retrograde, also when planets go retrograde, they're, we're reviewing things, reflecting things, we're having a course correction with the nature of that planet. The planet's energy is not as strong as it is when it's going direct, or when Uranus is going direct, so much is external. But now when Uranus is going retrograde, we're redoing stuff and we're going more internally. When Uranus goes retrograde, we can go inside of ourselves and go into reflection on what Uranus is about. It's sort of like, in the wintertime, you go inside, or a new moon, when you go into self-reflection, when you meditate. Uranus goes into hibernation. It's sort of charging up its batteries to then start moving forward in January. But it does, Uranus does want to make sure that we do review what it wants to teach us with regard to whatever sign it's in. So with Uranus and Taurus, Taurus is a fixed sign, and there is a rigidity with the sign of Taurus. Taurus, especially, I have Mercury in Taurus. And so my Venus and Mars and Gemini and Libra moon and all my air is really open to new information. But Mercury and Taurus, there's something to be said about, well, this idea or this mental approach or this thing that I want to talk about or this thing that I want to think about or communicate is so comforting and so familiar, and Mercury in Taurus can sort of dig itself into a mental rut easily on the low level. At another level, it can dig itself into being dogmatic. But there is a need for mental security of knowledge and ideas. Taurus is not the most open to change and, transformation, new ideas, all those kind of things like that. Um, and, yeah. So, with Taurus, it is also very slow and steady. It is all about keeping things the way they are, sort of holding down the fort. The earth is never going to go away kind of thing. Everything is solid, very safe, secure, the same old, the way it's always been, the tradition, the routine, the stability of whatever this is. But, there is this dichotomy of energies. And so Uranus is not bringing about the fast and sudden changes that it would bring in, say, Aquarius, Gemini, or Scorpio. Uranus is going to enter Gemini in 2025, and that is going to really accelerate things. New ways of communication are going to come online for us in major ways when Uranus enters into Gemini a couple of years from now. So it's important with Uranus going retrograde in general, and especially in the sign of Taurus, to be open to new ideas and to new ways of doing things, and to also care for the earth, especially if you think about global climate change and climate activists and the wildfires in Hawaii that were just so tragic, and the trees in the rainforest and all of these issues, because it is these such issues that Uranus rules. It rules Aquarius, and so we're looking at issues that are collective issues that impact the masses, the earth. And it's about the changes and advancements, especially technological advancements that we can make to innovate and revolutionize and better humanity, and fix, those issues, change the status quo and break the mold of how things have been done. That's what Uranus is about. It brings awakening and, um, uprising, and it is like a propeller into the future. So, maybe spending more time with the earth, putting your feet on the earth and feeling a really grounding experience, anything that you can do to ground yourself when Uranus is retrograde in Taurus. It's the prescription I have, to consider and give thanks to the food that you're eating, to drink more water, to maybe do water rituals, to get outside, listen to the birds, consider where your food is coming from, to eat more fruits and vegetables, to do what you can to help the earth be healthier. Maybe doing something to reduce your carbon footprint. Maybe not using as much plastics, or whatever it is. Yeah. And so Uranus retrograde really gives us a deeper opportunity to consider our place in the larger world, and consider our place in the world and how we are playing a part in it, how we're contributing to it. So it's important to be open to revelations and new information that may cause you to decide to do something different, to maybe radically do something different, because it's Uranus that we're talking about here. It's radical, it's sudden. So, whatever piece of new insight or information that comes up for you, that you feel like you want to change something or innovate something in your life that's more true for you, and people have the Uranus opposition in their mid-40s. That's when you have the midlife crisis, where you're changing the way that you've done things and making changes in your life. So being open to change and flexibility and um, new things, and allowing things to unfold, and reinventing yourself, making necessary changes in your life, maybe even trying new things, innovating. Um, And so, certainly the energies with Uranus are calmer, sort of calmer, rebellious feelings when Uranus is retrograde. Reevaluating your relationship to authority figures. Are you going along with the status quo, or how can you break the mold, speak your truth, and be, um, you know, original, and be bold and be unique and revolutionary, aside from, again, the expectations of other people, and what they want and expect from you? And are you just abiding and following the leader, and stepping in line and going along to get along, and all those kind of things? Or are you rebelling for cause, being the individual that you are, living the life that you want to live, and you're in alignment with your authentic self? The other side of this could be destructively, rebellion, rebellious energy. But anyway, that's all that I want to say on that. This is getting long. Alrighty. So now, One of the big kahunas of the week in astrology is I just want to readjust myself here. Okay, there we go. So one of the the other thing, of course, we have to talk about the full moon in Pisces going on this week. I have another little video I did where I just discussed the themes of the full moon. It's just a very short TikTok video, so you can check that out on my channel. This particular full moon, with the sun in Virgo opposite the moon in Pisces, is occurring on August 30th and 31st, 2023. It's all relative to the time zone that you live on. So this becomes, super imperative. So you want to convert the full moon into whatever time zone that you live on to find out when this full moon happens for you. So this full moon is occurring at 7 degrees and 26 minutes of Virgo and Pisces. So the sun and moon are going to oppose each other at this, at 7 degrees of Virgo and Pisces. So you want to look for where 7 degrees of the mutable signs is in your chart with your personal planets and your rising sign and midheaven, also known as your MC. It's one of the angles in your natal chart. So if you have your Sun, Ascendant, Midheaven, Moon, Mercury, Venus, or Mars, and at I would say from 5 to 9 degrees of the mutable signs, Virgo, Pisces, Gemini, Sagittarius, this full moon is going to be particularly important and meaningful for you. If you also have planets in the water signs, so planets from 5 to 9 degrees of Cancer, Scorpio, or Pisces, or planets or points at 5 to 9 degrees of Virgo, Capricorn, and Taurus, which are the earth signs, then this full moon is also going to be huge for you as well. So this particular full moon occurs at 8:39 p.m. Central Time and 9:39 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm just using these particular time zones, but again, go to a time zone converter and convert whatever time zone that's happening, this full moon's happening for you. Those are just the time zones that I list. So any full moon is a time where things come to a climax. It's like you start at the bottom of the mountain, and then you are slowly working your way up to the top of the mountain. And when you get to the top of the mountain, you see how far you've come. And you look down, and all you can go further is down. And certain things come to a head at a full moon. The other thing that happens at full moons is there's certain emotional endings that take place, where the energies in place, the universal forces, I want to say, are calling you to get really emotionally honest with yourself and to face the emotions that you're feeling and to act on those feelings and manifest them, responding to them, not reacting to them, and ending whatever you need to end so that you can start fresh at the next new moon about 14 days later. So, that's what the full moon is. It really illuminates things, to light. It brings things to light. So, with the themes of the full moon, we do have Virgo and Pisces. So Virgo is, we're in Virgo season, so we're dealing with, Virgo is the day-to-day thing, the routines that you have to deal with. It is how do you want to be productive and how you want to be practical. It deals with the details of your life. And those things that you have to do, the little things that you take for granted, like, when you wake up in the morning and you brush your teeth, what value does that have if you do it 5 million times in your life, or even more than that? So it deals with how you maintain your physical health also, and that really means a lot. It's very valuable for Virgo to be in alignment with the practical things in the mundane world. So it does deal with those little pesky things that we sometimes don't want to deal with, but it does deal with the details and the steps and the technicalities of how we want to get from one place to another, how we want to get this thing done, or do we ever, what do we want to do? How are we chopping wood, carrying water? How are we maintaining our space? That could be organizing our space. It deals with, how we are taking care of ourselves. Are we orderly? Are we doing what's in the best interest of our well-being? So these are all Virgo things to contemplate. Virgo thrives on a structure, thrives on a routine. It seeks to create order. It really likes when it checks things off the list. There's a satisfaction with that. And so Virgo is also a service-oriented sign. So it's sort of bringing us into the next 6 signs of the zodiac wheel. So we start from Aries to Virgo, which is very self-oriented. It's about us. But then signs Libra through Pisces is not only how we relate to other people, but also to the universe and higher realms, and sort of how we move into fifth dimensional reality, which is Pisces, because Pisces rules living at higher frequencies and deals with oneness and compassion and all those kind of things like that. So anyway, so it deals with, Virgo is a sign that thrives on being of service in very practical ways. It really seeks to have a sort of title or have a sort of purpose. It wants to be valued. It wants to be of use and help. It's just, Virgo is a sign that genuinely wants to seek help, and it wants to see that it's being of service, doing something fulfilling and meaningful for somebody else. So that's also another thing. So what kinds of practical things that you can do to serve another in selfless and very humble ways? Because Virgo deals with self-improvement. It's how can I strive to be better? How can I, work on myself to be better? How can I, improve myself, and, humbly? How can I better myself, day by day by day? And what are the structures that are, in place for me to do that? That, either serve my well-being or don't. Now, the shadow side of Virgos become, of course, becoming very critical and judgmental of yourself, where you go on that path of self-improvement, but then you just don't feel like you are doing enough, that you're, not good enough. And you become so obsessed of what you do in the practical, mundane reality and basing your whole self-worth around that, as opposed to stepping into the divinity of who you are, stepping into the love and compassion for yourself that is unconditional, connecting with your soul, accepting yourself for who you are, making it okay for you to make mistakes, self-acceptance, love, all those kind of things are Pisces related. So Virgo is the material and Pisces is the immaterial. It's formless, Pisces is not based on an order and structure. That's the last thing that Pisces is concerned about and wants to create. Pisces just wants to swim and flow with life. It is about the mood that I'm currently feeling in the moment, and that my intuition is guiding me towards this direction over here and that direction over here. So Pisces is a very flowing sign. Pisces deals with the vision that you have, and Virgo deals with how we're gonna make it a reality. What are the steps that we are going to do to make it a reality? So Pisces is the unseen. It is the sort of boundless chaos. Pisces just wants to swim and merge with other people and everyone. So there's not very strong boundaries in Pisces energy because it wants to feel everyone. It wants to be in a state of love and in a high state of being with everyone. And it is about soul health. That when we're so obsessed with the details and when we're overusing our logical mind and analytical mind, then we can become very anxious or high strung or nervous or, judgmental. And we can get into feeling, we sort of put our soul health and our emotional well-being on the back burner. So that's where things like meditation and yoga come in with Pisces. That it takes that inner balance, that Virgo not basing again your self-worth on people and situations and what you're doing out in the world and how you're serving other people and how you're maintaining yourself and others in the physical realm, but it deals with going inside yourself and finding the answers inside you and finding the serenity and love inside yourself, centering yourself. And when you center yourself, then you can better come from a place of balance and peace and love and better serve others in that way. Through love and through feeling of a divine connection to source and to your higher self. So compassion is a really prevalent theme with Pisces. And so Virgo is ruled by Mercury. It's very mercurial. It is very logical, analytical. And Pisces is, the intuition where it goes beyond logic. So that's the difference. Pisces is also being as opposed to doing. Because Virgo is like, oh, well, if you have the ability to do this, and if you can do it, then you need to do it. There's a compulsive need with Virgo energy to fix things that are not working or that are broken. Whereas Pisces energy has the compassion to acknowledge the truth of who you are and knowing that you are not broken. And it just is about your soul and connecting with your soul. And we can really leave that on the back burner when we're stuck in judgment, when we're stuck in the ego mind and stuck in the analytical mind and we can't get out of it. So Virgo is about, doing, but Pisces is just simply being. And we're human beings, not human doings. We're all spiritual beings living a human experience. So, it's not being hard on yourself that you didn't get this done, or, you didn't get this done in the right way, or, whatever it is. So those are some powerful lessons to learn with this Pisces full moon. Is allowing your intuition to guide you. Now, the one aspect that I just want to touch on real quickly is that the moon is actually coming into a conjunction with Saturn and Pisces. So the moon and Saturn are meeting up. And so this could indicate emotional restriction. And feeling emotionally restricted, feeling like you can't express yourself emotionally. Maybe there's a limitation that you feel like you can't feel your feelings. Maybe being gaslit on your feelings are false and they're not true, or whatever. But there is a need to cultivate emotional maturity. Maybe you feel more emotionally mature. Maybe you feel like you can express your feelings in a more responsible and mature, practical, productive way. You can actually feel your feelings, not deny them, and then take action upon those feelings, um, as opposed to just reacting. So that becomes important here. And so maybe feeling like you can't express your true feelings, your true needs, wants, or whatever. And there could be some type of restriction or limitation or challenge that is an emotional challenge that may come up in your family or home life that may need the hard work and the discipline to face that challenge. That is only when you acknowledge the reality of the situation that is going on, that is taking place, and when you put in the action steps to better that, to improve that, and to develop more emotional security and nurturing within yourself. So that is what I want to say for this week. There's a lot in here for this week. I really hope that you found value from this. I really hope that this video was a service to you, and that you may go to refer back to this video throughout the week. And until next time, keep well, and I'll see you in another video.